everybody, welcome to Free MMO Station. Today we're going to be talking about Peria Chronicles, and I know you guys are hyped for this game. I think everyone is, definitely we are. And Peria Chronicles looks amazing. I mean, mainly the looks though, right? Anime cel-shaded game that actually looks really freaking good and seems to play well, and it's got all these really cool and interesting ideas. And we are here today to kind of formulate a hypothesis, I guess you could say, over how it's going to play, what it's going to be like, if it's going to deliver, or if not. FreeMMOstation.com. Let's talk about the premise of the game for you who have not really heard of it. Basically, it is going to be a cel-shaded, Minecraft-esque, Pokemon-inspired sandbox casual party MMO. Yeah, somewhat, it's a bit of a mouthful, but really, it's true, though, that the premise for Peria Chronicles is kind of interesting, at least, right? Like, it's got novelty to it. It's potentially novel. Players do capture monsters, okay? That is like a big component to the game to progress. You know, that is your whole progression, basically. Your character is capturing monsters, and you get new spells and abilities from this. But really, there's apparently much more to the game from at least what we've seen so far. Graphics alone, of course, give this game a unique edge. We all know this. It's a huge selling point. Yes, it is. It's going to be probably one of the biggest anime games coming out. But no, everyone just know it's not just a pretty package. This is the real deal. Player housing, really, it's more like a custom-shaped region, entirely shaped, 3D, actually sculpted regions. Questing? Yeah, more like player-invented challenges. You can actually make your own quest lines, you have your own challenges, and kind of have like a little bulletin board, and other players can take up your challenges, and you can earn gold from them failing. Or they can earn gold from succeeding, whatever. Anyways, combat also looks super cool, super fun. But, it's, you know, especially considering that it's a summoner game, you know? You are summoning monsters, and you are battling with them, you know, in action kind of combat style. It is tab targeting, but still, we really don't have like a summoner, really, in any other MMO. I mean, you have Necromancer from Guild Wars 2, you do have a summoner in Final Fantasy, but we haven't had, at least a release in the West, that truly had a really good summoning system, and this game absolutely blows it out of the water. But really, to me, the most appealing attractions in the Sandbox theme park look to be, and I think most people can agree, it's the player-created content that's going to work in tandem with the already awesome physics and mechanics of the game world. So yeah, that's the premise, guys. Pokemon-esque, but a lot more to it. It's still kind of a little bit vague. It's still a little bit off in the distance. But yeah, let's talk about the developer, okay? Because this is going to be a big sign of whether they're actually going to make a good game or if they're going to ruin it. So, the developer is Thingsoft. They're known for FIFA Online franchise, okay? And it's actually pretty popular. It's also infamous for Battlefield Online. I don't know if you guys played that game, but it wasn't great. It was essentially a remake with a huge amount of premium transactions. It was pay to win. It was not that great. Overall, you know, Thingsoft's history is a bit mixed, you know, between good and between bad, but Peria Chronicles is looking to be like their first truly original title. Their other games weren't really original, you know, like FIFA, Battlefield, so this game, not only mechanically, but, you know, how it looks, everything about it is truly original, and so this is their game that could really set them apart from everyone else. Now, from their development history, we can probably expect a heavy grind, which is probably only going to be compounded by the fact that the game has RNG-based progression, because instead of using Pokeballs or whatever, like a skill-based capturing system like that, you have an RNG system. Whenever you defeat a monster, you have a chance to acquire it. So a lot of grinding already just from that system, and from their previous, you know, games, we can tell it's probably going to be even worse. Also, expect a casual atmosphere. This could be good, this could be bad. I'm going to assume that it's actually going to be good, because it's supposed to be kind of like a party atmosphere, kind of like MapleStory 2. Now, Thingsoft is most active in the casual and social markets. This is where their focus is, you know, for gaming. And Peria looks to have many mechanics that honestly would benefit from this outlook instead of being hindered by it. Though, I mean, really, entirely depending on the cash shop. It could go either way, you know. If it's a casual game, but you spend money in order to entirely bypass, you know, parts of the game, that's not cool at all. It all depends on the cash shop. If it's fair, if it's fun, if it's cosmetic, that's going to be great. If not, the game is essentially going to be ruined. What could be a great game will just be completely ruined. Now, if you are looking for the next, I guess, hardcore raiding MMO, you know, like your World of Warcraft days or world record breaking stuff, you should probably look elsewhere, honestly. But if you want a game that can compete with, say, MapleStory 2, Pokemon, EverQuest Next, all those games simultaneously, then here we are, because it's kind of like those three games just kind of had a baby together. I don't know if that's possible. But anyways, again, That is, if it can actually maintain a healthy economy, which is certainly not the case with what happened with Battlefield Online. I'm not sure about some of their other games, but I know that there's a stigma with casual games, okay? I know you guys, how you feel about freemium games. We love a lot of free-to-play games, well, we do not like pay-to-win. Okay, so this leaves me hesitant, and it's probably going to leave a lot of other people hesitant too, until we see further into the game. Now let's talk about the engine, okay? The engine of the game really matters, okay? So I know a lot of people turn away from Terra. It has really cool, interesting concepts, but a lot of people can't run it on their machines. And even though it was supposed to look really amazing, a lot of the time, if you're not on totally max settings, it honestly kind of looks kind of crappy. So the engine really matters here. This game is kind of selling itself from how it looks. Now, it's going to use a proprietary 3D engine using an enhanced animation system, self-proclaimed. So what this means is that they could, well, they're going to be using their own engine, okay? And that means that they could have really good optimization, really good animations. Well, they're supposed to have good animations. From what we see, it looks like it's going to have really good animations. But they cooked up their very own game engine, which is going to allow for, I guess, gorgeous gameplay experience with a focus on animations, which, I mean, we can already see that. It's already evident in the trailers and the gameplay so far. But what we don't know is really how well it's going to perform. We won't really know until we get into the alphas, into the betas, until, like, the further optimizations. Now, cell shading can be really good, you know, if it's clean, and it looks clean, it does. So it probably, I want to assume that it's going to run well. From what I've seen so far, I think it's going to run well, okay? Now, especially in consideration to load times, though. We got to think about load times, because this is a game where a lot of the areas are going to be character created. You know, like a player is making these maps, is literally sculpting these maps. Or maybe in real time, somebody is spawning a house. You know, you got to think about these things. You're not just loading a part of a map. You're literally downloading and loading kind of like at the same time. So I assume that, yeah, you know, just tons and tons of loading screens, potentially. Lots of downloading. Now, if you have a bad internet connection, of course, MMOs normally aren't fun if you don't have the fastest internet connection, if you don't have the strongest computer. But Peria Chronicles could just be completely unplayable entirely if you don't have the best of the best, at least in terms of internet connection. So, you know, the engine can only help so much when it comes to that. We'll have to see how that actually plays, you know, of course, when we actually get into the game. Yeah, so players creating, destroying content all the time. We're just going to have to see, how is this, well, it is a beautiful game, and it is action-packed. How is this beautifully action-packed game going to run? That's a big question mark, something that we need to keep thinking about. Now, the potential for the game, though, guys. They already stated that they want some, like, MOBA-style maps, MOBA-style competitive matches, but they're going to have, like, giant player-created cities, intricate and deep player quests. Of course, you can have different quest lines and everything. Your players can actually have different scenarios and challenges that they create, so we're going to have lots of stuff with that. A wonderfully elaborate world setting. It looks like there is going to be some sort of, like, lore, and there's some really interesting concepts there. I mean, we can see that from the gameplay already. It's monster capturing, so we want to really explore that, and there is something to explore there, so that's the potential. Hopefully they do actually have a good underlying story. It's not just a ton of player-created content. Now, yeah, mix all this with their sort of like Jade Cocoon style gameplay. And honestly, this game, it seems like no matter what, it's going to be worth playing in and out. You know, even if it doesn't look as good or run as well, it seems like there's just so many unique things and factors to this game that it seems like we want to play it, right? Like, I want to play it. Do you guys want to play it? I think we all want to play it. Now, the gameplay and the potential, being able to combine monsters, this is something that really excited me as soon as I read it. You can combine monsters, and that will create unique ones. Now, hopefully this works like the original Jade Cocoon, where the physicality of the monster is actually different. Like, you can actually morph and change and actually create different looking monsters. Now, in Jade Cocoon 2, they did away with that, and it's just like different kind of stats. It's not really different monsters. Now, hopefully it is like the original Jade Cocoon, which is the obvious inspiration here. Yeah, being able to combine monsters for unique ones, then having them, you know, different party builds as well. You're not just summoning one monster at a time. You have, like, a different rotation of spells or monsters that you can summon. You know, you have all this sort of different strategic and tactical things that you can do in battles. You know, you have a lot to think about, and especially, you know, if it's not just your party of monsters, but what if you are doing, like, 5v5 battles with other players? They have their own monster rotations or party builds, and then within those, they probably have their own custom created and, I guess, customized monsters. I have no idea if you're going to be able to armor up your monsters or change their stats in any way other than mutation and combinations, but either way, there seems like there's a lot of strategy and tactics, and of course, you know, it is tab targeting, but there is some mechanics to the game. It seems like it's got the trifecta, you know, tactics, strategy, mechanics. It seems like it's got everything that you would want in a potentially competitive game. You know, of course, that's great. That's all fantastic. The potential for competitiveness is there, but you know, the game is kind of focusing on a casual playstyle. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of, it could potentially have a competitive atmosphere, but really the main atmosphere for the entire game is casual, is fun, is kind of party oriented. It's you know, kind of like MapleStory 2. Yeah, so you're gonna have a lot of player creation tools, which we'll probably also see a lot of casual style player made quests, you know, just kind of fun things to do, and events which should really leave, I guess, new players in awe, and seasoned players always doing something new. You know, there's always going to be something new to do, and new players are always going to be enthralled. You know, there's just going to be so much to do. Where do you start? And that's a good thing. You know, that's how, like, you start off in any sandbox game. The whole point is, where do you start? Where do you begin? And hopefully this game is more sandbox than theme park, but I think that it's going to be kind of a meshing of the two, from what it seems like, you know? So yeah, there is going to be a lack of hardcore endgame. There is not going to be potential for that unless you count player created content, because there's no reason a player, or even like a guild, you know, an entire guild, could not create those themselves. You know, a player could actually create something like a huge challenge, and then challenge and give a huge bounty or reward for anybody who can accomplish that. We aren't going to have really unique encounters unless they give us the tools in order to create interesting and unique encounters, but I really believe that the players and the unique encounters and dungeons and quests that we are going to be able to create is not going to be AI oriented, or I guess we're not going to be able to make monsters, you know? That's not something that we will be able to do. We won't be able to create raid bosses, but we will be able to create mazes, labyrinths, different puzzles. You know, we will be able to do that. It seems like we're going to have a lot of almost redstone level of complexity with some of these different changes. Actually, whenever I was watching the videos and somebody was changing how a door opens and closes, you know, different triggers and different events and actions and reactions that it can have, it seemed very similar to Unreal Engine, actually, and like a game engine whenever you make a game engine. So it seems like it's really giving us a lot of tools in order to customize our experience. Like, we can actually make true content. So if you guys ever made a map in Minecraft, you ever used Redstone in Minecraft, or if you ever used a game development software, a game engine, you'll know, you know, there's a lot of complexity with those. You can do a lot with those things, you know. It's fun, and this game actually looks like that. Now, that's just how it looks. Whether that complexity is true or false, we'll have to wait until the game comes out. But yeah, the verdict, here we go, guys. This is what I personally think, based entirely on my speculation and my bias, of course, with past experience with the company. I'm gonna say that this is gonna be a great game. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a good game. I mean, it looks too freaking good to fail. Of course, that's what I said about Terra and some other games, and they kind of failed a little bit. I mean, Terra's still going strong, but it wasn't quite the wow breaker that I thought it would be. But anyways, I think that this game is going to be a great game. I don't think it's going to be a wow breaker. You know, I think everyone should disbelieve in the notion. This game is probably going to deliver with everything that it sets out to do. Whether or not it has a large population or a small population, I don't think it even matters, because of how player creation works. It just doesn't matter. I mean, there could just be you could just be making content, and then you could play through the content yourself, and that's totally fine. I think this as a solo game is fine, but of course it works really great with parties. Absolutely, but I don't think it's going to be massive. I don't think you're going to have Guild Wars 2 level PvP or anything like that, but for party play, it's going to be fun. Now, I think the game is going to be slightly bogged down by an awkward economy. I say awkward, I don't think it's going to be bad, I don't think it's going to be great, but I think it's going to be awkward. There's so much potential for this company to sort of nitpick and money grab. Like, seriously, it really does. I'm talking about, like, energy points, okay? This is in a lot of mobile games. Energy points to run dungeons. You know, you can only run so many dungeons before you run out of energy points, and you have to spend money in order to get more energy points in order for you to run more dungeons. Or maybe just like an incredibly unlikely RNG-based monster capture system, so like it's really hard to get the monsters that you really need to get. You know, stuff like that is just, it's so awkward, and it doesn't ruin the game, but it doesn't make it more fun, and it's actually going to hinder the population, which, you know, it's a little bit tragic, but they're going to make money from it, probably. That's what I think, you know, from past history, you know. So, that's just from Battlefield Online. I did not like Battlefield Online, but then keep in mind, there are different segments of this company. You know, you have different segments working on different games. So maybe with this segment, we are going to get a really good economy, and that's really all we're going to need. So yeah, most of the content will be player created. They've already stated this. One bad thing to that is that they're just going to give us kind of like an empty world. There's not going to be too much to do at the very start. It's just going to be a bunch of repetitious grinding until players actually start making content. That is not what I want. I want a fully realized MMO, or at least a single quest quest line, you know, to go through and experience, and maybe some demo, developer player created content, so that I can see and mimic and then copy from and then enhance with my own creations. I would like that. That's what I liked about Halo 3 and 4, and that was really good. But yeah, player created content is going to be the end game, which could be good, could be bad, and I think for this type of game, it's going to be fantastic. So that's just my personal opinion. Of course, they could also, you know, intercept that with some money grabbing there. You know, like you can only create one map, and then you have to spend like $50 in order to get another map slot, which would freaking suck, but I totally see that coming. Who knows? But yeah. Most of the content's going to be player created, so I assume, you know, as long as there's no items to directly enhance players, you know, of course, like if you can just get plus 10 damage while you're doing a player quest, I don't know how that's going to work. I know there's player progression. Now, how does player progression work in between going to different quests and different maps? I don't know how all this is going to work. There's a lot of potential for pay-to-win mechanics. That could really suck. But overall, I think the game, it looks fun. You know, like the anime cousin to EverQuest Next and Landmark, and the grown-up version of MapleStory 2. It's got some Pokemon thrown in there as well. I think it's worth looking forward to, and I'm probably going to rank it really highly on the most anticipated release list. Absolutely. It might take a while to come to the West, but I think it's going to do well. Probably not as well as the East, but I really hope that the localization effort is, I guess, accelerated. Because, to be honest, I want to play it. I want to see if it's worthwhile or not. And hopefully you do too. It could go horribly wrong, but it looks so good. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Free MMO Station. Remember to like and subscribe. Check out the website as well. I'm Skyland Shore. I'm excited for Peria Chronicles, and I'll see you again later.